Behöver du en bil? Mabe hyrbilar finns på över 150 platser i landet och vi har nästan lika många modeller att välja på. Mabe hyrbilar. Hyrbilar som passar dig.
Well, the season might be drawing to an end, but there's still plenty of racing left to go as the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan's Formula Series hits the high banks of the newly renovated Zandvoort, and it's certainly going to be an interesting one. And of course, thanks to our team Force Esports for calling this the Banking in Europe Grand Prix. It's myself, Cameron Roger, and of course Lorenzo Bonda alongside me. We've got Dane Bell on the production of this RaceSpotTV broadcast as we enter the penultimate round of the season, and it's certainly been a fun one so far. We started with a stretch in the Americas before going down under to Phillip Island, a couple of races in Europe before we go back down under to Oran Park in just 2 weeks' time to find who is going to be the champion of this season. Jesper Eriksson won our previous Formula Series just before Christmas, but he's not having it all his own way this season. Marcus Byfelt just a couple of weeks ago got his first race victory of the season, and not one but two of them, as he took 2 race victories, and that closes the championship up to 47 points as we enter the final 6 races, and with a lot of points still left on offer. Of course, 300. There's plenty of things that can happen. Let's see how this one works out. Oscar Fredriksson and Melvin Augustin also tied for 3rd place. That could be quite an interesting battle to look out. Of course, Michael Haflidsson there down in 7th place. He wants to get himself up there, but he does seem to get involved in a couple of incidents here and there. Let's see if he can have a bit of an easier time here at Zandvoort. But as I mentioned, it is the newly renovated track. It's got the banking now and might just generate a little bit more overtaking opportunities compared to the old style circuit that we saw a few years ago. But the news is on the track that we have some rain. There was talks of rain coming in at the Red Bull Ring a couple of weeks ago, but it did not come to fruition. But today we certainly do. So 5% in quali and race 1, but it goes up to 50-60% for the final couple of races. That could certainly draw some attention. But Lorenzo, as we come into this qualifying session, this is going to make it a little bit more tricky. It is important in this championship to get up towards the front, but you've got to know what tyres to go on. There's still some wet patches out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Track is slightly damp, so maybe some guys are going to try to risk it on the slicks, which is, I think in my opinion, might be the better tire. Depending on the circumstances, you might be able to get more grip because it is not going to be raining too much despite the dampness. A lot of the drivers are going to be sharing the track, therefore the track is going to clean up a little bit. Therefore it helps out in trying to push those fast laps. You can see on the bottom right of your screen, race 1 will be 9 laps. So race 2, the same thing, is just the order that is finished upon race 1, and then the longer race is 16 laps. Race 3 with the top 20 inverting its standings from race 2. You basically said this is a two-way battle from the current standings, and the number 37 has a little bit of a chip on the wall. The question is, will there be any collisions between the 2 first drivers to open up the whole championship as the rounds go on?
Yeah, so it's 151 points between Eriksson in 1st place and Fredriksson and Augustin tied for 3rd. So that's basically 3 race wins. So it is looking like a two-way battle, but Marcus Byfelt just short of 1 race win in behind, so he needs to try and do something. But with those 2 race victories back at the Red Bull Ring, that is certainly going to change his prospects. But as you say, Lorenzo, if they take each other out, then we could be looking at a 4-way battle going into the final race in a couple of weeks' time. Here's the standings as it sits. Look at the time difference that we see. I think this is, of course, some tyres, but also some conditions just coming into effect, as Byfelt is over a second faster than Haflidsson in the 81 machine. That's 2nd place, but I'm sure as the second laps come in, we're going to see these times get faster and faster.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, track might be drying a little bit as the drivers are actually using the track, and the confidence of the tires and the drivers also is picking up a little bit. You saw the one that actually crashed out at the back when we were talking about the race format and everything was actually Jasper Ericsson. So it's gonna be in a little bit of a situation, Mr. Ericsson, prior to the race, and he still has some time. I don't know if it's gonna be a whole lot of time for him to actually put a lap on the board. Halfway in second place. The question is how close these laps will be once everything is said and done in a little bit.
Yeah, I believe Ericsson's actually in the pit lane, and if that is true, he's going to be starting at the back of the grid. We've only had 19 lap times come in as well, so still plenty of drivers not being able to do so. But Ericsson, that could be quite big for him. He's basically finished every race of the season in first or second place, apart from two. One he DNF'd and one down in 10th place. So he's had a very consistent season. That's why he's leading. Byfeld, of course, always up inside the top 5, but it's Ericsson with those P1, P2. That is why he's got that 47-point lead. But if he's going to be starting down in 20-something position on the grid, there's a lot of drivers that he needs to overtake. We don't get the inverted race till race 3, so 2 races of action he's going to have to try and come up from the back of the grid. Here's Norgren coming out to the final corner, about almost 4 seconds off as the clock comes down to 0. There is the end of the session. It looks like Marcus Byfeld is going to be on that pole position by just about a second. So he's looking very fast, and that is certainly what he needs. And to be honest, we can't read too much into that qualifying session in terms of the lap times. There's mixed conditions, some drivers on wet, some drivers on dry tyres. When we get into the race, that is when we'll really see. But here is the grid for race 1. Byfeld and Aukson are on that front row with Havlitzen in third place. So Aukson just snatching that front row slot from Havlitzen at the end of the session. Lenholm is in fourth place. Eero Nom and Dan Holmer are inside your top 6. Dan Holmer had a very strong showing just a couple of weeks ago as well. Holmbon and Kamara are in your fourth row with Jonker and Nordgren inside your top 10. Neptun and Horner are inside your top 12 in the front 6 rows of the grid. Helberg and Helmro up inside your top 14 with Brewstrom, Giros, Frisk and Klaas Loden inside your top 18. We do have 29 drivers on the grid today, so plenty of a big field. As we got Brostum, Lundberg, Jesper Eriksson down in 21st place, his teammate Fredriksson alongside Skeglerson and Walken Schott inside your top 24. Then on the final page of drivers, we've got Motin, Eriksson, Vedestad, Vollingström and Lucas Pedersen will round out your drivers. And of course, Force Esports, as I mentioned, sponsoring this race as well, the Banking in Europe Grand Prix, and we are going to be seeing that banking coming into full effect as we go into the Oval Series next week as we continue the playoffs there. But of course, for tonight, it is focused on the Formula Series, and we'll see if it's going to be Ericsson or Byfeld leading the way in the championship in towards the final race of the season in a couple of weeks' time at Oran Park. Just 6 races left to go. We still got some drizzle in the air. We've got some wetness on the track, and 9 laps of action are going to be coming your way here at the Banking in Europe by Force Esports. But it's Marcus Byfeld for Street Trends who'll be starting on that pole position, and he gets a good launch from second place. Melvin Aukson does not get off the line very well, and in towards turn 1, it looks like it might actually be Havlitzen on the outside line getting towards second place, which he does. Aukson's going to have to defend from his teammate Lenholm, who's going to be coming side by side as we come up towards turn 2. The spray is still on the ground, so drivers need to be a little bit careful, but it looks like everyone's got through turn 1 nicely.
Yeah, everybody getting away turn nicely. The question is now this bank part. You said about Bank in Europe. We got some Bank in Europe. Here's Zandvoort. They're going to deliver. As they go into the back portion of the track, so the twistiest portion of the track, in my opinion, that's where the danger can actually become and happen for some of those drivers. But fortunately, I think they fiddled out in a single foul line as they go now through turn number 7.
And with the way that we've got the split this time, there's quite a big difference between the two, the shorter races and then the inverted race. There's quite a big jump in the lap counts, whereas there's only 3 laps difference back at the Red Bull Ring. So there's more laps later on, but that means there's less laps now for these drivers to try and make up the places. So that is why these top 2 are starting to run away. As you see, the gap is already forming. That's Havlitzen in second place in the 81 machine, who is looking very strong in terms of pace in this championship. He's got a couple of race victories back at Virginia, but unfortunately just not able to have that consistency. Let's see if he can challenge Byveld, who's been looking so strong, and that 105 is leading the way as we end lap 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Now through the final corner to Ari Luden like Bokht as it was a much slower turn, so to speak, in the previous iteration. Now it's much faster, basically a full bank turn, flat out, all the way down to turn number 1. Halfleton has a corner over here. He's going to lunge himself here. Cam, can he make the move stick? No, Byfeld with a better run on the outside.
But the good part of this track is you can battle for a few corners, but he doesn't choose to do so in towards turn number 2. On the high line, it's going to be for Byfeld, the low line for Haflidsson. Normally, the high line, though, you get the momentum up the hill as you come in towards the S's, and he certainly manages to hold on. Let's see a replay, though, a little bit further back. We got Helmbro making some contact there in the middle, and unfortunately, the 71, I think it's Brewstrom getting involved, the 404. Also, that's Elias Hellberg. The 3 of them just having a little bit of a pile-up. Small contact is made, and car's getting spun around.
Yeah, and even more trouble for Brostrom right there as you now looking to Conshot's perspective as he tries to get away of all this chaos on turn number 3. Unfortunately, just gets collected in the midst of all things.
Yes, certainly does. But low as we got is that Skeglerson continuing with no rear wing. Well, unfortunately, is spinning out at turn number 1 there. Maybe should have come in for some repairs. Going to see more. Oh, huge flip upside down. Oh. And that car has gone to outer space. Neptune making some contact there. Further drivers having some issues up at the fast corner Skyflak. Let's see this one again. I mean, that contact, it wasn't huge, but I think, yeah, it was wheel-to-wheel contact on the driven wheels, upside down. The car goes. It might be Vollingston, I think. Gets absolutely sent into space. We come back to live pictures, though. On the outside line, it's going to be Haflidsson, the opposite to what he tried one lap ago. It's going to be Byfeld on that inside line, just squeezing him up towards the curb. Space given, though. And the 81 is going to continue there on the outside line. Is he going to fight it? Yes, he is. To have the inside line once more. Can he come up to cover off the line? But no, the 105 is going to do the up and under, and he gets the run up the hill.
What a move from Byfeld, managing to grab the P1 back, but still side by side to the twistiest section of the track. Now all the way down to Shivlak into turn number 7. The preference goes to Haflidsson over here in terms of grip, but side by side, sometimes this doesn't work. It's gonna work for the time being. Great respect shown by both drivers.
Half a lap side by side. They still need to continue out. The 81 has got ahead, though, as you come through the fast flick of a right-hander there, and he's been able to hold on to that position. So Haflidsson is looking strong, and with it being just a 1v1 battle, it looks like in this race, he might be able to hold on for a 3rd race victory of the season, which will be absolutely timely for his season, and with him still wanting to get well up inside that top 5. But as you mentioned, struggling just a little bit. There is Haflidsson there on the screen down on the bottom right for AM Racing Team, and he is leading the way from Byfeld at the end of lap 3.
Absolutely. In the point standing, obviously probably is gonna get ahead of Daniel Holmer as Holmer is in 6th place. So the point gap between both of these drivers is gonna actually be switched around. 9 points differentiates Haflidsson to Byfeld, as Byfeld is going to have a massive run into turn number 1. Is not going to lunge himself. Has the look, but remains conservative over here, Cam. But is going to get a good run on the outside. Doesn't manage to put side by side though.
Yeah, I think it's just shown you how interesting this track is with all the changes. There's a lot of lines in many corners that you can do, actually, and it's certainly a different challenge to what it was before, and I actually quite like the changes, to be honest. But as we've been focusing on the top 2, in behind we've got Lenholm and Aukson still there. So Aukson from 2nd place has dropped down to 4th. In behind Aaron Nom got past Dan Holmer. I think they swapped on that one, but they swapped back. Holmer's now dropped off, and it's Cedric Holmbaum in the number 10, the youngest driver on the field in that 7th place. He is trying to get in behind the green machine of Holmer as they come up the hill, so still battles inside your top 10, but it seems there's a little bit of a gap behind Jonker down to Fredriksson in the top 10. He's dropped off by 6 seconds already.
Yeah, absolutely. As we look through Holmbaum's right there, going around the second part of the hairpins at CM.com. So as they get out, tries to get the run on Holmer. He's not going to be able to do the overtake, though. It would have to take a massive, courageous lunge from the number 10 car to actually do that overtake. He's just trying to cook the best way he can towards the final 2 corners and gets a really good run at Ari Ludendijk for him to do the overtake properly.
Absolutely. Well, that's a little bit wide there, actually, from Holmer That might just lose him a bit of momentum. You can still see the spray, but they are on the slick tires, trying to get as much grip as they can, as long as they can keep the heat in them. Side by side we go down the front straight, and Holmbom there in the orange car on the inside line will have the better racing line as such. Holmer on the outside might just have to back out of that one, and he does. But back to the race lead. The 105 dives up the inside in towards turn 2. He'll have the high line as well. He'll have the momentum. Bit of a wiggle from the 81. They're going to squeeze, but the 81 can't get the power down, and the 105 takes it back. Beifeld to the lead.
I honestly thought they were going to crash, Cam.
I mean, I'm surprised they didn't as well. That was a huge slide from the 81. He's trying to get on the power, but that outside, that high line with the banking really works down there at turn 3.
Yeah, but not only that, I think it's a low gear turn. So I think it's third gear or something like that. So whenever you try to get back down to the power, especially on damp, the car just wants to lose its rear end, and you need to, I think, be cautious with your input approach so the car doesn't step out on its rear. We're going to look at the replay right here. It's already wiggling at the entry of turn number 3, going to number 4, going to the banking, and in second gear, the car doesn't want to keep steady, keep it on the track properly, over rotates, but fortunately, what a skills from Haflitzen just to keep it on the track and not lose a lot of time in the progress.
Yeah, great stuff to see two of the top drivers in this championship going for the race lead. And over the course of this lap, Beifeld's pulled out half a second as well. We're coming on to lap 6. So over halfway in this race, the sun is coming out. That'll help dry up the track just a little bit. But it is nice to have these battles here up for the race lead. And in behind, we might see a battle between the two teammates for that third place as well. But the 81, he seems to have quite decent pace, just not enough to go for this lead. We've got a whole host of drivers who've been down the pit lane. So that's Jesper Eriksson. We haven't mentioned him so far, actually, further than his qualifying efforts or lack thereof. He is now last 29th in this race and out. He's going to be losing some points to Marcus Beifeld. If he takes the race lead here, he will effectively take the championship lead, although there are drop rounds involved. We've also got Hana, Neptun, Nordgren, Giros, and Skeglason, all many laps down and going to be out this race.
Yeah, absolutely. It is just the nature of Zandvoort and its lap number 1 chaos with a bigger car, with a bigger number of cars. Not saying bigger cars because F1 they get around over here. They're big cars. Sometimes they don't get around because they're big. But what matters is I like this lower powered racing with the smaller cars and everything because it is much closer. It becomes more on driver skills than the car itself for you to break away. But the question is still I would say medium high downforce track because you need a lot of downforce on the car. So you want to try to find a good balance for you to get the speed out of the fast portions right over here into final corner into turn number 1. But you still want to have some good downforce and a mechanical and aerodynamical grip for you to handle the tricky sessions like turn number 7 and all the way onwards.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bit of a difficult one, especially for these cars, because there's quite a few straight sections, but also there's quite a few high-speed corners. And Beifeld there making a mistake gives Haflitzen the opportunity to come back. Is he going to dive up the inside here? No, he's going to choose the high line once more and actually maybe try and get a bit of momentum. But really always runs wide there. Really, you do need to hold on to that high line or commit fully to that low line. In the middle, it didn't quite work out. We lost a couple of tenths from that one. So he is really trying to push, but Beifeld is doing what he needs right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And now there's a little bit of dirty air involved for Haflitzen, so he has to lift off a little bit, go down to 4th, go back into 5th as now he goes into this Masters Bohlin now all the way down to Bohlin number 9, which is the hairpin right here. And you go into the double hairpin, the second half of the hairpins. Try to find a really good line because you need to master that exit so you can get a good run into the final 5 corners of this track.
And he did get a decent exit, closing about a tenth or so through the middle sector and in towards the final part now, the stadium, this arena section that they've got with all the grandstands now. They'll be heavily in orange when we get there later in the year in real life. And in towards the final corner now, we see they still keep it in 4th gear. It's so fast out onto this straight where they'll be keeping it pinned through the banking and trying to get close. He's actually got a little bit of a gap behind, but we know the slipstream is quite powerful in this car. But as you get up into 6th gear, I don't think it's quite going to be enough to make Beifeld half think about it, but not enough for a bit of a send. Another maybe 20 centimeters, and he might have thought about it, but not enough this time around.
Yeah, not enough. But the thought is that now he's gonna try to put the car as outside as he can be. Looks for the low line again, just gonna get washed out on the exit. No, doesn't get washed out on the exit this time around though. Here, Cam is gonna just basically follow him for one more lap until or actually try to do something in this lap if the opportunity finds himself to be open for Halfwoodson. But good momentum for the number 81, even though he gets washed out over here on turn number 7.
Yeah, just sliding a bit on the entry there, Sky Black, and yeah, bit of maybe a dirty air moment, but also maybe slightly going offline. Remember, it does look dry, but there's still wet patches out there off the racing line, and being on slicks, you just go off it a little bit and you lose a few percent grip, and it's not quite enough. But once again in the middle sector, Halfwoodson looking very strong. He closed up here last lap. Let's see if he can do it. Down in towards the chicane. He goes to the right-hand side. It's going to be a dive, and he's got the rim actually on the inside. Byfeld, though, round the outside, manages to hold on to that. Left him enough racing room. Clean driving there. But as we come onto the final lap, who is going to be leading the way? I think it's going to be the 105. But the 81 surely is going to dive into turn 1.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Gap is at 0.2 of a second. We know that door is going to open. The question is, where will he go to get that door open? And will he have the run to go on the outside for turn number 1 to get to the lead?
Let's see. He's going to go later on the break, surely. Final lap timer all the way around turn 1. This is a bank corner. It can work, but Byfeld is going to squeeze him onto the curb in towards turns 2 and 3. Can they make it side by side? No, they can't, because the 81 takes the race lead with just 3/4 of a lap to go. He holds that high line as well to defend as we come up the hill.
Yeah, also, if there's one thing about Byfeld, the race win over here would be important as they go side by side through the twisty section. Is going to be all the way down into turn number 7. It's going to benefit Halfwoodson in the entry, but can Byfeld still remain side by side and have a really good run? I don't think so, but all the next corners will benefit Halfwoodson on the entry.
Byfeld has to back out of that one as well. One line corner in towards the hairpin though. He half thought about it. Is it going to be enough to get close? This is really the one. Try and repay the move that Halfwoodson tried last lap around, almost pushing each other out onto the back straight. Bit of a wiggle there for the 81. The 105 is going to close in. He surely has to do it here. He won't get the run towards the line as Byfeld led over the line last time around. Can he lead this time? Bit of a late dive. It's going to be almost contact between the two. The 81 goes across the grass a little bit to cover that one off. Now the 105 left or right. Is he going to go? He can't really overtake into this corner, but he slows the 81 up. He goes to the outside line and he's now going to try and get the run. But is it going to be enough? I don't think so. He's too far away. The 81 chose the right time to get to the race lead, and it'll be Michael Halfwoodson who wins the first race here at Zandvoort by just a couple of car lengths. Byfeld tried his best, but in the end, the 81 takes the race lead.
Yeah, absolutely. What a great battle between Halfwoodson and Byfeld right there. Really good battle between both drivers. A lot of respect as well and room for everybody as Atkinson and I think Fredriksson were actually third and fourth if I recall correctly, but it's gonna be fifth Atkinson in the long run though, because in the battle of the championship I think we'll put him ahead of Fredriksson in the points, and now they're gonna have to calm down a little bit, calm down the nerves. It's all good. Race 1 in the books. On to race 2.
Absolutely, and as ever in this championship, race 2 grid is the result of what we've just seen. So it's basically a stop and start. We'll go again, and Halfwoodson will have the pole position this time with Byfeld alongside him. And I think Byfeld might be a little bit disappointed actually to not take that race win. He'll definitely take his second place, because remember, championship leader Jesper Eriksson is not going to score in this race, and that will be a good obviously it'll be one of his drop rounds, but that's good for Byfeld to get that race win and basically get those points over and knock off one of his drop rounds as well. So he'll definitely gain some points. It won't be the 45 points that it looks like, but it will certainly be a gain, and that is the important factor in the championship hopes. Of course, Lenholm came in third, beating Aukson. So Aukson, he'll be wanting to try and get a better start this time around. But I think Lorenzo is just being on that dirty side of the grid, probably on a slightly more wet part in that second place.
Yeah, absolutely. Now the question is, how do you get around race number 2? Because the chance of rain increases a little bit over here, right? And that's really important. We just don't know how damp or anything or else the track is going to be. We know there's nearly race certainty in race number 3, so it's going to be crazy when it starts. But race 2 should provide a really good excitement for everybody as we see the race results.
So Haflidsson took the race win, I should say, from Byfeldt, and then Lennholm in third. Aukson, Nom and Holmbommer in your top 6. Homer, Kamara, Jonker and Oscar Fredriksson round out your top 10. And you'll see the gaps did certainly spread out quite a bit. Some of the drivers struggling in this slick but on damp tarmac situation. Frisk, Rob Eriksson, Oscar Motin, Loden and Vedestad finished inside your top 15 with Wallingston, Linus Brustrom, Lundberg, Helmbro and Hellberg all round out your top 20. A few of those drivers involved in that lap 1 kerfuffle. Pedersen from the back gets P21 and Bjorn Brostrom your final drive on the lead lap in P20 SKU. Skawson, Håkan Schott, and then a few other drivers, of course, laps down. But we go racing already for race number 2. Haflidsson from that front row, from that pole position, gets in towards turn number 1. And there was certainly more chance of rain, but it hasn't come just yet. And we have 9 laps of action from the second row, though. It looks like it is going to be Ivan Lennholm trying to get past Byfeldt already, and he has done up towards second place. He dives to the inside to cover that one off. So Byfeldt losing another position. As you come up the hill, though, is he going to be able to keep that momentum and try and get that place back?
Yeah, absolutely. Now into the S's, up and down and up as going to turn number 7, and Byfeldt is going to lose more time over here, and unfortunately gives a little bit of a cushion for Haflidsson to try to break away a little bit over here, because apparently their pace is just much better than Homer and also Åkesson in this, but a much cleaner start between everybody in this second race, while still their cars side by side right behind them. Looking forward to see who's that in battle for 5th and 6th going through.
Yeah, I think that was Eero Nom and Holmbom battling that one out. 2 very good drivers in this championship, but unfortunately just ever so slightly off race winning pace, but still having a very, very strong season. They got Dan Homer in behind them as they continue to have that battle. The top 3 have got the tiniest of a breakaway as Melvin Aukesson can't quite keep on the back of them. We come through the weeds and the grass through the final corner and onto this front straightaway. Is Haflidsson going to be able to hold on? Is even in second place Lennholm going to be able to hold on, because Byfeldt's getting closer up towards turn 1. He looks towards the inside, half thinks about it, doesn't really go for it. Lennholm also doesn't really defend. That keeps the door open though for Byfeldt to get the run up towards turns 2 and 3, and he might be able to get this second place back. He'll have the high line as well as come up towards the banking. Lennholm is going to have to give that one up. He does go to the inside, but the momentum on the outside there for the 105 who retakes second place.
Yeah, completely favors him over there. And meanwhile, on number 37, Jasper Eriksson finding himself in a really sea of trouble as a nearly massive crash outside of turn number 4. As I think the numbers looked a little bit Honda actually having a little bit of a problem outside of turn number 4, maybe broken damage or just went too deeply into the corner.
Yeah, there's definitely a couple of things going on there. I think I say Hana having some issues. One of these Street Trends drivers also was slow off 1. Now we got Eriksson from the back of the grid, already up 10 places. Make that 11 potentially as he dives up the inside of Håkan Schott. Another car is off on the exit of 9. And now round the outside is going to be for the 37, the long way round to try and get up to what is now 17th place. This is a great recovery from him so far. Look at the train of cars up ahead. It's only a 9-lap race, but he might still be able to get himself well inside that top 20. And of course the inverted places for race 3, top 20 of the result in this race. And there's another place, there's another one of the Street Trends drivers going off. You can see Eriksson there smiling as he's gifted 3 places.
Yeah, freebies after freebies and freebies, and I think he's enjoying himself, trying to enjoy himself on race number 2, trying to take a little of the pressure away as Byfeldt goes into turn number 1 over here. Battle for the lead reignited, near contact between them, 3 wide outside of turn number 1, and somehow Haflidsson makes it all the way, and Lennholm earns P2.
How has that happened? That looked like an easy overtake for the lead for Byfeldt, but in the end, he's lost one as Lennholm gets through. That is an amazing way that it works. He tried to go a little bit too wide. That was the issue. He tried to push Haflidsson wide, and all he did was open up the door to Lennholm, and they just didn't get the momentum out of turn number 1. Now, certainly one of those things where he tried it, but it didn't quite work out indeed. So now Haflidsson holds on to that race lead in the background. Nom's gone around, though, from that 4th, 5th place battle. Holmbom, and now has 4th. Aukesson, Fredriksson in behind, but there was about a 3-car wide battle in towards turn 1. Unfortunately, Eero Nom has come out badly with that as he drops down the field.
Yeah, and he has a broken wing, maybe a broken toe link in the car as a number 51 apparently. Managed to go through, and there you go. Now into the wall again. I think this is race over.
Oh, yeah, he touched the curb. Oh, then further contact, gets spun around. In towards the barrier he goes, and enough just to knock that front suspension. Of course, they're basically made of paper in these lightweight cars, and unfortunately, Street Trends drivers, they haven't had a great race apart from Marcus Byfeld, another one of their drivers going off as we see. I think it's Bohlin spinning right in front of a few cars. I don't think there was actually contact there, or Hana I should say, spinning around and unfortunately losing some time. There's a 93 going off as well. That is Matis Jonker. He goes off and manages to just about get on, but again some free positions for some other drivers as there's actually been quite a few incidents that go, oh, that's the one that was at Hana already. Going on. There's Jakob Frisk. He's already got off, and there's a car up ahead of him, also off the track. So much going on here in these replays.
What is happening right now? Oh, now Bromsum as well with a little bit of trouble, but the track looks like to be much brighter than what we're having over here. And Byfeld still trying to get around Lindholm. The gap opens up by 0.6 of a second. Still some proximity between Halflinson and Lindholm right here, but I know Byfeld wants to get away this one just as fast. While we go back to Ericsson trying to climb up the field, as I think he's still in P13.
Make that P12, and this might be 11 in towards 9. He goes wide. He's going to dive into the inside. No, that's covered off. Orkerson, he's had an issue. He loses 3 places there as a Holmer and Kamara go through, and also Fredriksson actually, he got up inside the top 4. So Fredriksson's having a great race, and of course it is the banking in Europe by fours, and fours showing a pretty decent result. Although I say that as Lindholm drops down to P3, Byfeld has got him. Has Lindholm gone off? Actually, I think he might. He's lost a lot of time, and maybe Fredriksson's going to be coming for him in that 3rd place. He's obviously having some issue, maybe some contacts.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to see if there's any damage on the wing. I think that front right might be damaged, but don't quote me on it.
So he's already had some issues there. Must be a little bit further back. Fredriksson does get Lindholm in the meantime in towards turn 1. As a home bomb in the background goes a bit wide. That opens the door to Holmer to get through. Maybe Kamara to try and dive it down the inside in the background. All sorts going on today at Zandvoort. It's been amazing action that we've seen the 2 teammates battle out, but Lindholm then the darker rims has dropped back, and Fredriksson, who struggled a bit in that first race, I think it was P10 he finished, and he was quite a way back, but in this race 2 he's going up the field.
Absolutely, and still a lot of race left to go by as we look now. Oh, okay. Was that assisted by Byfeld, or like Byfeld was an innocent bystander and spun him around? Because that's what it looked like as we go back into the lead, as Halflinson has to fend off Byfeld. Things getting heated with 4.5 laps to go.
Yeah, definitely try and take a second look at that, but we'll get to it later because of this battle. But certainly Byfeld, if there was contact there, of course, may end up subject to penalties, and he needs to have these good races to get points back on Jesper Eriksson, as of course these bad races will be the drop scores from Eriksson, so he's not really going to be losing any points as such, but Byfeld just needs to better the results that obviously count for him. Velestad gets moted in P9, but up to the front, it is going to be Byfeld to the inside on the banking, and for the race lead, he might have enough just to squeeze it down the inside as he come on to lap 6 of 9. Havlinson dives it around the outside, trying to defend, but the 105 should have that on the exit, though the 81, as ever, will come back through turn 2. Actually has the momentum on the outside line. He'll have the inside for turn number 3. The high line goes, the 105 all up into the green. Actually couldn't use it, couldn't keep the car down as 81 holds on, but I think the 105 has shown he's probably the faster driver, but it just hasn't been able to get ahead completely.
Yeah, and also he wants all the points because he knows Ericsson now is in 7th place, gets around Moulton, but it got a little bit of a situation right there as Moulton also loses the position to Helmbro right behind, and now loses the position to Gayros. So something is happening outside the top 10 that is completely madness.
Yeah, this track is giving us a load of action in this championship. We might have in some ways spread out a little bit, but we've seen these packs of cars, these battle packs that are giving us some great action, and it is P1 and P2 for Havlicen and Byfeld in the banking in Europe by fours. And can they try and take the second race lead? We've had some further issues for Street Trends there. Is that potentially Gyros having some contact? Yes, it is. And the 36 gets spun around there. And does he is he okay with the rejoin? Because it's a bit of an awkward situation. Fortunately, bit off the racing line, but he loses probably about almost 10 positions there as we come back onto the banking, and it is going to be Byford to the outside this time. The 81 on the inside, the 105 trying to get the race lead as these two continue their battle that they had in race number 1. On to lap number 7 is going to be the 105 takes the outside line this time around, the opposite of what he tried last lap. Can he make it work? The 81 was able to hold on last time around. Can he hold on this time in towards turns 2 and 3? The inside line's going to be for the 105. If he can just come up enough to cover off, all contact is made, and he came up a little bit too much.
Yeah, somehow, some way, they managed to survive the whole ordeal. I thought this was going to be death, and the one who's going to be benefited by it will be Jesper Ericsson. And Byfeld needs to think about all the points. You know, you want to be aggressive, you want to go for the win, but you cannot you must think about the long run, about the long game, and nearly that went out down the drain with a potential maneuver down into turn number 4.
So that is Ericsson, as you're mentioning, is up inside the top 10 now. He's in P9, and he probably can get Kamara. And as I say that, he does, maybe even home one by the end of this race. Such as the pace of your championship leader, as you've got a few drivers in the pit lane. They've had issues, but we're on to lap 7. And after that contact, Byford hasn't been able to regain that gap. Maybe there's some damage. Maybe it's just a bit of a lost momentum, although the 81 does lose a little bit of time there. We come back to this battle between the teammates. Lenholm has actually got past Fredriksson to regain that 3rd place, as in the background, Holmer's also trying to battle. So much going on in this race. Oh, huge contact there, being sent up into the air. That is Mattis Jonker with further contact issues in this race.
A little bit of a medical helicopter right there moment as everybody gets away unfolded. Unfortunately, Jonker, I think he's going to have a massive issue not only on the floor of the car, but also things on the front wing as Atkinson goes into 5th place. Homer loses the position. Byfeld trying to get a little bit of a better run through the SS to try to make the auto overtake on Havlicen. Gets a better run in my point of view, but the thing is I don't think he's going to have the open door to make that move on turn number 7.
And it depends, does he want to lead on to the final lap, or does he want to be in 2nd place and try and obviously do a 1 lap wonder? Let's see how this one works out. Lap 8 of 9. This is the 2nd race of the evening. 1 more to go. The top 20 will be inverted, and currently it is Pontus Norgren who's leading the way in that battle for the reverse grid pole, but for the race win in race number 2. Who's going to be? The 81 has a bit of a wiggle there. Coming onto the back straight is the 105, going to try and get the position now. Does he want to lead the way, or is that just going to open the door to the 81 to come back in turn number 1? And I think maybe that's what he's thinking there.
Yeah, so they managed to survive the chaos that would be the double hairpin and also the chicane, as the Byfeld is going to try to get a better run over here at Aaron Ludendijk, but Havlicen overcommits a little bit on the entry of the corner, gets a really good run outside of it. But the question is, Byfeld manages to just stay patient, closes down by 0.2 of a second. The door will be open at turn number 1. The question is, will it be a big lunge?
I think it might do. No, backs out of that one. He decides he's going to have to wait later on. Final lap time, final opportunity, and it might be this. Off turn 1, in towards 2. No, he's going to have to back out of that. The 81 holds on, but is he going to want to do this? He tried it a couple of laps ago to dive to the inside. No, he keeps the high line. A little bit of the games going on there with how early they wanted to turn down and get the momentum up the hill. But we come up towards Skyvlack. You can overtake here, but you've got the S's to go through first. Over the curbs, they're going to go. The 81 just squeezing him and holding on to that racing line.
Absolutely. Now goes into turn number 8. Eventually, he's going to go into Martesbocht, as it will favor a little bit Havlicen. Havlicen kind of like overcooks the corner a little bit, allows Byfeld to not be able to do the overtake, but is going to allow himself to double hairpin. You know that move is going to come down if Byfeld gets a good run and may see overtake on the chicane.
Oh, he has a bit of a bobble though. He's a car length or so back. He He might be just a little bit too far to make this move, but this is the best place to do it. No, he is too far. The 81 has it covered off as the rain comes down in the final couple of corners. But is it going to be enough to make any sort of error for these drivers in towards the final corner? How early do they want to get on the power? Not early enough, it looks like, as the 81 will lead. The 105 is going to chase him down towards the line. It is a long way up towards the finish line, but it looks like the 81 is going to get 2 race victories in a row, as Marcus Beifeld has to play second fiddle for the second race in a row. In behind, the 2 teammates come across the line. Lindholm beats Fredriksson for that final 3rd place for Forza Esports in the second race. And it looks like, I think, Nordgren is going to be in that P20 and getting the reverse grid pole when we get to race 3 in a few moments' time. But once again, for Haflidsson, maybe didn't have the race-winning pace as such. I think Beifeld was faster, but he put his car in the right place and was able to take another victory.
Absolutely, but it's really battle between everybody right there. Unfortunately, I think we had the issue with Lindholm that fortunately he kept it on the track, managed to get P3 by 60 hundredths of a second, Cam, which is a good thing for him. You know, good recovery from Lindholm despite being closer to Haflidsson and Beifeld within the battles and everything. And the good news is, I'm looking down the track. Apparently, Ericsson managed to finish in 12th place from what it looks like. So good progress by Ericsson despite of not having the best race 1 here at Svenska Eracingligan.
Absolutely. As the drivers just dry themselves out on the in-lap, we'll take a few messages from our partners.
Behöver du en bil? Mobi hyrbilar finns på över 150 platser i landet och vi har nästan lika många modeller att välja på. Mobi hyrbilar. Hyrbilar som passar dig.
Welcome back to the banking here at Zandvoort as we come to the final race of the evening here for the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan's Formula Series in the penultimate round of the season. Just 4 races remaining, including the one that we are about to witness. But of course, race 2 has just happened, and it was Michael Haflidsson in the number 81 machine who took another race victory, his 4th of the season. And once again, he takes a second victory, 2 in Virginia and 2 today at Zandvoort. Haflidsson from Beifeld at the front. Then it was Lindholm beating his teammate just about by 0.5 of a second. Fredriksson in 4th. Aukson, Homer, Holmlund, Kamara, Broström up inside the top 10, and Vollingström as well. As we must have seen some issues on the final lap because Vedestad and Lundberg got ahead of Jesper Eriksson, who dropped down to P13 in the end. Motin, Eriksson, Schott, Neptun, Loden, Helmbro and Nordgren round out your top 20. Nordgren will, of course, be the reverse grid pole. Then Pedersen, Horner, Broström, Skousen, the only drivers on the lead lap before we have Gyros, Jonker, Hellberg, Frisk and Nom all having unfortunate DNFs in this race. Jesper Eriksson getting the fastest lap on P9, so it's, lap 9 I should say, so it's probably actually lap 8 or so that he had his issue and dropped down, and unfortunately went back a little bit. Is this a replay of seeing maybe what has happened, or maybe this is in the warm-up session actually, because the rain has come down, Lorenzo, as we get in towards race 3. So this is a bit of a tricky one. It's a longer race, but surely you're gonna have to start on the wet tires.
Not only that, but you have to think about different lines, how to take this track in a different fashion. I think some places where the bank, would ease up the job, you're probably going to have to take it a little bit higher than that. I think the optimal line is going to be a little bit interesting moving forward. Looking forward to see the difficulty of these drivers to get used to with the rain, as it's not easy, but it's a good thing for everybody now that rain is in iRacing, and it brings a whole new dynamic on for these drivers to tackle on.
Certainly does, and there you can see the grooved tires as definitely not easy through the banking. Of course, the banking was sort of introduced to make the final corner easy, flat out, and a longer straight, but in the wet, maybe a little bit more difficult, even in these lower powered Formula cars. You see a bit of a different line actually coming towards turn 1, a bit more on the inside, trying to get sort of off the rubbered line as such, which is a little bit more slippy, as the rubber in between the water and the tarmac obviously is not the most grippy thing in the world. But he is P1, Jesper Eriksson, in this qualifying session, but we're now down to 151s. So yeah, the race time will of course be a bit longer in that regard, as we do have a longer race for this inverted grid anyway, but it'll be even longer due to the wet weather. So the drivers just need to try and choose, of course, how much fuel as well that they want to start the race with. As all the 18 there goes round struggling with the wet tires, because in the wet you're on the throttle less and therefore you use less fuel.
Yeah, but not only use less fuel, but it's interesting that depending on circumstances, you might burn a little bit more rubber because you're overusing the car. That's what it looks like, doesn't it? So looking forward to see how this race will transition. I think warm-up is done, so let's get into race number 3 here, Cam.
Absolutely, and of course we'll go through the grid and who is going to be inverted up towards the front, and it's going to be Nordgren and Helmbro on your front row, with Loden and Neptune for strict trends on your second row. Schott and Ericsson round out your top 6. So this is the race where some drivers have the opportunity to score some top points. Motin and Ericsson are on your fourth row, of Lundberg, Vedestad, Vollingsturm and Brostrom rounding out your top 12 and the front half of the field. Kamora, Helmbom, Holmer, Orkeson, Fredriksson and Lenholm inside your top 18. And of course your P1 and 2 in the first 2 races, Byfelden, Haflidsson, Pedersen, Horner, Brostrom, Skegelsen in your top 24. And then the final page of Giros, Jonker, Helberg, Frisk, and Eero Nom, who of course is one of the up-and-coming drivers in this league. He's getting faster and faster as the championship progresses, but had an issue in that previous race and will have to start from the back of the grid and P29 as we go to a 16-lap race. It's quite a bit longer. We're in the wet conditions and the drivers need to survive if they want to get the points on the board, as we have just 1 round to go in this championship. It's going to be the mega final by Svenska e-racing at Oran Park in a couple of weeks' time. But what is the championship going to look like when we get there? It's only going to be an interesting one to see what the championship has changed, with Ericsson having a bad couple of races, Byfeld getting P2s, of course Havlidsson jumping up with a couple more race victories. It's going to close everyone up as we get to those final 3 races. But 1 more to go here at Circuit Zandvoort as we try and cover ourselves in the umbrellas, as the rain will come and the spray will go in towards the air for one final time this evening. The penultimate round of the season is Nordgren on the front row, Peter Helmbro in the yellow car alongside him. They've got Loden and Neptune in behind. Who is going to get the whole shot down in towards turn 1 as you go racing with the wet tyres for the first time in this championship? And it's going to be a pretty bad start actually from Nordgren. Too much power. And look at the Street Trends drivers coming through from that second place, second row of the grid in towards turn 1. Helmbro is going to take the lead, but Nordgren already dropping down to P5, as going to be Vedestad getting up the inside of him. Also Jesper Eriksson up into P4. 4. In the background, though, has everyone got through turn 1? I think they have, but the spray really is there. The car's sliding all over the place as you come in towards turn 3.
Yeah, and now this has become a dangerous alley as we see chaos at the back here, Cameron. And a few cars already got involved in the midst of the whole process as we see 3-1 has won to turn number 4.
Certainly tricky conditions for these guys, but what a start that was from the second row as we saw Neptune and Loden having an awesome start. Unfortunately, Loden's dropped down into P5. Oh, from the race lead though. Peter Helmbro goes off in the background. More cars spinning, taking too much speed into Skyflag. Loads of drivers dropping down the way. Norgren, I think, was one of those drivers as they try and get themselves out of the gravel. 3 wide in towards turn 9 for the race lead goes Jesper Eriksson up the inside as he already hits the front, as he's seen him do so many times this season. In behind, it is going to be a bit of a side-by-side with Vedestad, but that is not quite enough to get him the race lead as we see Neptune there drop down to 3rd.
Yeah, looking over here on my board, it is just insanity. People going up and down. The most benefit of all this is even Ivan Lindholm and Michael Haflitzen. Haflitzen's already in 5th place of all things, while Pontus Vetterstad needs to try to get around, but doesn't manage to do so. On Ericsson now breaking away. Question is, where is his direct competition in the championship?
This
I cannot find him. I thought in 20th, 3rd.
Yeah, 23rd. So maybe Byfeld was involved in what happened up at turn number 2. Let's see. Loads of cars, loads of contact. 1, 2, 3 cars. Byfeld there. But 105, he was one of the cars getting spun around. And look at the absolute carnage there at turn 2. Just a lot of spray, a lot of drivers. And here's Helmbro just going ever so slightly wide and spinning the car. And look in the background as well. Multiple other drivers getting caught out by his conditions side by side in Skyflag and then losing it on the inside. That is unfortunate for the Street Trains driver there getting hit around.
Yeah, that we knew that race was gonna give us something. We just didn't know what kind of stuff would give us as more moments around Skyblack, and fortunately drivers didn't manage to die in the process as the car comes back without a front wing in the front turn, and more issues at Skyblack. Skyblack is just the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, very difficult corner, obviously so fast, and the racing line's on the inside. So if you go ever so slightly wide, you get onto the wetter line. It's not a dry, there's not really a dry line, of course, but it's a drier racing line. So you go wide of that onto the wetter line, and unfortunately, you obviously lose grip and you get spun around. There's the 66, I think that is, having some problems and all getting almost further contact with a teammate. This is just some carnage, to be honest, as we've seen all sorts of stuff happen actually in the live pictures. We weren't quite keeping up to that. Ericsson's had an issue. He's dropping down. He's batting with Neptune. So much has happened there. There is the 30. That's Ericsson, isn't it? That's the 37. That's how he's lost time on that replay. And he's dropped down. Lenholm and Hafidison from nowhere have come up in towards P1 and 2. Vedestad and Holmbom in second place. Havidson's now got issues. He's gone off at the final corner. Huge contact is made in the bottom right-hand side of the screen as the 81. Is that Jesper Eriksson?
Yes.
It might be Jesper Eriksson. The 2 championship contenders and top drivers in this series having some issues there out of the final corner. Hafidison spinning first, being perpendicular across, and the 37 unable to avoid.
I don't know what to say. I honestly don't know what to say.
Too much is happening.
It's too much for my heart, man. It's too much for my heart to take. Oh, no. Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
Yeah, 37, not a lot that he could have done with the 81 being right in the middle of the track. And this is crazy stuff. We're seeing here so many incidents. And there's another one. Cars getting spun around in towards turn 3. Here, is this from Ericsson? Yeah, so Ericsson's on board, and I think he thought the 81 was coming back up the track, so that's why he went right. And as soon as he realized he wasn't, he turned left, but just not enough time. So that is so unlucky there. So the 37 of Jesper Eriksson is really going to be dropping some points there. There is Helmbro, who was the one getting spun around by one of the Street Trends drivers in towards turn 2. Such a tricky race we've seen so far. More replays than live action has been. So many spins as we're only on lap 3.
I'm starting to think this track is basically a battle royale.
I mean, it almost is. So we'll catch up with the live standing. So Lennholm has jumped up to the lead. Remember, he was, what was it, 17th or 18th on the grid, and he's already got up to the race lead. Auksson is in behind Helmbom. Then we've seen Vedestad here, P4, just lose that place to Helmbom. In behind, Fredriksson is in 5th. Neptune from your second row has kept himself up inside the top 6. Then we've got Helmbro, he's been spun around, but he's still up inside the top 7. Frisk, Holmer, and Juncker round out your top 10 as we hit lap 4. But this has been quite something so far. Vedestad going to the right, going to the left-hand side, trying to get the move here into turn 1, but I think Holmbom with those pink alloys should be able to hold on.
Yeah, he's going to be able to hold on just barely. That's good to know. And Vedestad, actually, I'm just trying to find, he's 40th in the stand. He's only 9 points, and with the way this is going, this is obviously he's going to be his best place finish, as now to Neptune, as Neptune has a little bit of a fall off. And Fredriksson be able to, break away. Not quite. Fredriksson is off already as well.
Yeah, goes for a 360 there on the exit of turn 3. Such difficult conditions out there as the 404 manages to save that quite nicely. That is Linus Hellberg. He goes for a spin. Here's Fredriksson on the inside line trying to get on the power. And no, so it really is wet out there, isn't it, Lorenzo? Every single driver, including our championship contenders, is struggling. 2 cars off here on the exit of Skyvlag, and that is absolute carnage there already in the background. We see
3
one go
cars.
off. Crikey, what is going on here? In these wet conditions, drivers really struggling.
Struggling is an overstatement.
What's beyond struggling? Impossible to drive. Was that 2 Street Trends drivers off at the same corner? I think it was.
Yes.
So that is not what the team management would be wanting to see.
Hold up. Does Fredriksson have a broken wing, or am I going crazy? No, I'm going crazy. It's because this race 3, I think, gave us everything, then something extra. That it wouldn't be too wrong with me saying I'm seeing too many things,
I mean, we have seen drivers finish without front and rear wings, not just in this, but also in the Oval Series as well. I mean, Jesper Eriksson last week got a podium with the no front bumper on the car. But of course, in the Formula Series as well, we have seen it. The drivers do continue. So we're on board with Ivan Lennholm, your race leader for Forza Esports. It's their own race. It's the banking in Europe ? By Forza Esports, and they might be able to get themselves a race victory after the AM Racing team and Michael Hafliderson have got 2 race victories so far in the opening 2 races. But in the final one of the evening, it is the 263 leading the way.
You know what is insane is that Lennholm cannot even get to 6th gear. It's like the car is. I think that feeling that you're going on a very damp highway and you cannot press 100% of the pedal or something like that. You just have to kind of like nurse the car around 50 kilometers less. That's the feeling they're probably having right now. They just try to get around the track and stay alive.
It's so difficult. You're on the limit every single corner, but the limit is so much lower that you can't push to the full potential at all. So you're kind of treading on eggshells because you don't quite have the same feeling of where the limit of grip is. As Auksson has dropped down. Oh wow, he's coming into this championship, into his race, 3rd, 4th in the championship, and now he's dropping down as well. Every single driver, I think, has had issues in this race as Lennholm chooses a higher line, interestingly, through the banking as we complete a RaceSpot onboard lap there. Thanks to Dane Baird, our producer for this race. Vedestad has also dropped down. He's lost a couple of places. Holmer and Helmbro have gone through. And it really is being a very difficult race as Fredriksson also goes through on the 403.
Yeah. As we're going to look into some more replays, kind of like, they're probably going to have to rename Skyvlak once this race is done.
Skyvlak?
Yeah, Skyvlak or something like that. I don't know, man. You're going to have to find a new way to call that corner. As the 403, there's Vedestad. Vedestad actually is in the pit lane.
Oh, he certainly is. Must have had some damage from that as we continue the replays on. More issues down there at turn 8 to Skyvlak, as this is not the ideal situation for a lot of drivers. Oh, huge hit into the wall there. Wheel gone for one of the Force drivers. That might be Aukerson. I think that was Aukerson who's dropped down.
Yep.
He's in the pit lane. Velas, as you said, is in the pit lane. Here's Hellberg as he goes for a spin down a turn 2 into the barriers, and one of the Bright Esports, the blue car, almost follows him. Here's Linus Brewstrom now, and he goes a bit too wide onto the wet stuff as well.
Oh, Linus. Why, man? Why you do that to us? As now we're going to look into Vetterstedt. Oh, is he going to come back around on one of the cars?
I would hope not, but maybe just came into the pit lane for a retirement potentially as well. As here's Aukerson trying to get back. Why hasn't he retired the car or towed back? He's got no front wheel, and he lost it about half a lap ago at this point, so that is not ideal. As we see the grass, of course, needs to be cut, but I'm sure the insects like that, as that is one of the Bright Esports, I think, had an issue just being covered up there. Here's Helmbro, who has spun around already quite a few times this evening, and he goes for another one there.
Yeah. Now there's a question. Now Fredrickson as well going for a spin at the same place. There's Helmbro. Oh no!
That was a Nürburgring 2007 moment of all the drivers spinning off at the same corner, which is always a scary moment, but certainly difficult conditions out there. We see another spin there for Norgren, your pole driver, dropping down. Hellberg, another spin there up at turn 3. This has been quite a race, quite an event, Lorenzo, to have you alongside me.
To say the very least, I've never seen so much carnage in a race like this. Literally carnage.
I don't think I've seen this many crashes and replays in one race. This is unbelievable.
Same.
Ed has got the replay spooling. There's Beifeld. He's had some issues there, and he's gone off, of course, in such a good position in the championship, but he's gone wide as well. Matis Jonker also joining him alongside. These conditions are really, as Beifeld in the background trying to rejoin. Hellbomb
in the Lando Norris line.
I mean, I dread to think the amount of replays that Dane Baird has shown us already this race, and we're on lap 7 of 16.
Would this be applicable for the iRacing not top 10?
Well, it's sort of like a not 25, not 30 at this point.
It's something like it.
It is quite incredible as Bohlin crashes at the same time there. This genuinely is quite something. This is a race to behold. If you're watching this live right now, remember where you are, because this race will probably go down in history as the first wet race, the first properly wet race of the season on iRacing here at the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan's Formula Series, and it is certainly showing the difficulty that it promised.
Yeah, absolutely. It's delivering this and something more. You know, I didn't expect this to when the race started, and it's definitely given us something. And I'm very pleased that I'm actually commentating this. But you know what it feels like. It's kind of like the lead is cursed. Now Neptune also loses a position, loses one more position, maybe spun around, as the 666 actually got 666ed, and there you see another car going around. It is just like is the 4 lava or something like that? I know there's wet patches and places where you can aquaplane and everything, but I don't know. It's just insanity.
Well, I guess in terms of race cars, lava is. Oh, we're going to see another one off. Yeah, 2 of them go off at the same time as Skyvlak, and there's Lodin's going to lose a position. Frisk drops down, Jonker gets past, and that is certainly a tricky part of the track today. I think that's probably been where most of the crashes have been, up there at Skyvlak, but the drivers do continue on in the race, and there's Jonker in the 93 place. trying to chase down Loden just up ahead, just a half a second ahead or so. I think one of the cars getting past was actually, I think Beifeld a lap down in this race. 4 laps down, I should say, for Marcus Beifeld. He must have had some damage repairs from that off in turn number 1, so he's going to be losing some important points as he tries to chase down Ericsson in the championship.
Absolutely. As now Lindholm around. Oh,
from the race lead.
Dear.
Can he rejoin in time? He had a huge gap to the P10, and actually, sorry, I thought that car coming in second place. It's not, because he's got almost a 20-second lead. I hadn't quite appreciated that. More cars. I think that's Norgrenov on the exit of 3. This is unbelievable how many spins that we've had in this race, and the gaps are absolutely massive in certain situations. So Lindholm's got 18-second lead. It's fairly close in behind from a few drivers actually with that battle between Loden and Jonker, but Lindholm just needs to keep it on the track at this point.
The question is, how do you keep it on the track with so many spins in the cars that you see in front of him? I think he just wanted to join the party a little bit. But all right, if there's one thing we should do after the race, I think Dane is going to do that. I'm 100% assured that Dane is going to do that, and maybe place it in our RaceSpot Twitter and Instagram. A spin counter. This is going to come. This is bound to come.
You know when you're at an event and the security guards have those like tickers, they're counting the people coming in.
Yeah, precisely.
He must be there on the replay counter going like tick, 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 as he tries to count the amount of spins that we've had. So just to reiterate as what we've had. So out of the race, we've got Motin, Kamara, Jesper Eriksson, Michael Haftinson. In the pit lane, we've got Pettersson, Horner, Orkerson, Vetterstad. We've also got so many drivers laps down. Broston, Ronningstam, Beifeld, Lundberg, they're all 4 laps down. Skegelson's 3 laps down. Schott and Norgren, they're 1 lap down. We only have 13 drivers still on the lead lap here. It has been quite something in this opening 10 laps of the final race. So just 6 more remain as Lindholm still leads the way.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I think the worst thing for Lindholm is right now? Is the fact that you still have 7 laps to deal with.
And we're doing just shy of 2-minute lap times as well. So it's quite a bit of time that he's going to need to be keeping calm. The only good thing is, in his situation, though, is he's got the gap behind. So he doesn't need to take that last little bit of risk if he wants to just keep on the track.
But even if he doesn't need the risk, it's still, the slightest mistake can just undo your race.
Fredriksson. He's dropped down as, this is going to get tight. As that's, I think, Frisk coming in behind for that 6th place. So Fredriksson loses 2 places. And has obviously had some issue there upper turn 2. There was another car involved, I think, was one of the cars that potentially is a lap down. As Fredriksson now actually, look at this battle that we've gone behind. So we've got Fredriksson, Frisk, Jonker, Neptune all in behind. So 4-way battle up inside P5. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, no victims of Skyblock, as you can see Frisk trying to go on the inside, doesn't have the room to go on Fredriksson. Tries to find a better line through the outside for him to get a good exit on the number 112. But that opens the door for Janke to try to make that overtake. Inside line for Frisk, tries to commit into it side by side, has one front wing in the car in, but doesn't get the overtake. As now Janke might actually have the better run on the front straight, but it's not going to be enough.
I feel sorry for Neptune here. He's got 3 cars of spray to look through as he tries to make these overtakes. That is probably what's going to be hindering him just a little bit as Fredriksson pulls away by a good few car lengths there coming through the chicane and should be okay to defend down in towards turn 1. But Frisk was looking a bit frisky, as his name suggests, in trying to get that place. But I think it's actually maybe Young who's a little bit more has a bit of an opportunity. I say that though, actually it was a terrible run for Fredriksson on the straight. Wasn't able to keep the power down, or maybe he got a slow down penalty or something like that, because he was really slow on the front straight there. And Frisk has got back through in towards turn 1, as all on the outside there. Oh no, it goes wide though. We're going to be 3 wide. The 93 of Juncker trying to get past. Fredriksson retakes P number 5 Juncker up into 6th place. It's all going on here as the drivers continue to battle through the rain.
Yeah, and now they're taking the low line for the better grip of the car as Juncker goes around. I think, just wondering who's that car that gave him a little bit away outside of turn number 1, giving the Lando Norris line. As everybody else goes into turn number 7 again. Surely they're not going to be Skylak's victims. Just barely.
This is quite a race that we are witnessing, and the battles go back and forward. It's so easy to make the mistake, as Fredriksson is still in this 5th place. He's got Juncker in behind in that black machine, and then Frisk in the white one, and then Neptune not too far behind as they close in on the final 5 laps of the race. Can't get the power down onto the back straight. Fredriksson is definitely lucky to still be in this position after his bad exit onto the front straight this time around. Is Juncker going to have a think about it in towards the chicane? Not quite enough.
No. Even if you wanted to, I don't think you would be able to get the run properly on the exit.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a tough conditions out there. You've got to choose your battles of when you actually go for it. So here is the place where Fredriksson had a bad run last time out, and he hasn't got the best one this time either. The 93 is getting the run. He goes to the inside line as Fredriksson wasn't able to keep it flat out through the final kink, and he goes in behind once more as the 93 takes 5th position, and he's jumped up 2 places in the last lap. As we come towards the braking zone for turn number 1, he's able to hold on to that, as we're seeing Frisk now trying to finally get that move on Fredriksson, as well as his top this battle, this 4-car battle inside the top 10 is continuing on.
I think right now Fredriksson is the only thinking about survival, given the fact that everybody else died in the whole process except for Lindholm. Well, I might have cursed Lindholm after this one, so I don't know. It's what an interesting race. What a awesome addition the rain was as well. I'm sure everyone will get used to it as the months progress, but very difficult situations. Oh, we're seeing another one. Neptune goes off. Live pictures there as he spins around in Skyback, and that is not the nicest place to re-overtake, but fortunately I think he's actually got a bit of a decent gap to his teammate behind the 36, and he's able to rejoin rather nicely there as we go back to the battle. And Fredriksson's still in that 6th place, but this is just showing you how difficult it is out there. Yeah, and you can even see Fredriksson having a little bit of an issue going down on power on his car, but fortunately just managed to do that just barely, as Frisk manages to close down the gap a little bit. And I'm looking at the gaps over here into laps. Everybody, Lindholm doing 151s and everybody else on 152s, 53s, except for maybe top 4. Which is insane to think about. Some guys like doing 2-minute laps, like Christopher Gayroth last time around.
Yeah, big differential in the speed. I mean, we saw it even in quali when it was just the sort of the mixed conditions. We saw 7 seconds difference in lap times of some drivers. It's very, very difficult. As I said, you're kind of trying to feel the limits, both on the steering and then on the brakes as well, as Frisk has got past Fredriksson for 6th place. Fredriksson dropping down another position there as 25 gets back. But no, actually, Fredriksson does keep that
Frisk
position
around.
in P6. Is that because Frisk has gone off? Another driver to add to the list.
Is that on turn number 1? It is.
Wow, what a interesting and carnage field race. The 25 goes around at turn 1. Well, he battles for P6, but instead it's going to be P7. But he's able to actually keep P7 because Neptune, of course, had his spin about a lap ago. So it's almost a game of who has the least amount of spins. I really doubt that there's going to be a single driver out there without a single issue in this race.
I'm actually thinking now. You got me thinking over here.
Because obviously Lindholm's up there at the front, but we've already seen him. He's had a spin from the front. Then, of course, Holmbaum, Holmer, etc. There's a reason why they're 20-odd seconds off the lead is because they've had issues. And then, of course, everyone else, half the field's been down pit road.
Yeah, true. You might have a point over there. You might have a point.
As a driver, Lorenzo, of course, yourself, would you like these conditions or would you just get frustrated?
Oh, rain. So I like rain, even though I'm not the best driver into it. I think I only had the Sebring 12 hours, and even then I didn't properly drive it in the rain because my team actually took most of the rainy stints. I just drove when the rain began. But it is an interesting one. I think I can perform well in the rain. I think it takes a certain level of skill for you to drive, on the limits of how rain performs. It is hard. I think it doesn't come down to the car. It comes down to the driver being able to find the better lines and be consistently safe and aggressive to get those laps down on everybody else.
I think if we remember back to, for instance, if you go off to Formula 1, remember 2016, we had the races at Silverstone, at Brazil, and for instance, Verstappen on those two occasions especially really showed his prowess in the wet conditions, and really had that sort of edge, that feeling compared to the other drivers. And I think that's just a prime example. I think a lot of his confidence as well. It's so easy to be further off the limit. They've got a bit of a confidence and you'll just gain those extra few tenths. And it's really, it's really a game of the ones who want to be brave enough to brake as late as they can, to go on the different racing lines and find that grip. Has come on to 2 laps to go for the evening. And this is now a 23-second lead for the 263 of Iman Lindholm. It is the banking in Europe by 4s. And can they complete the final 2 laps to take a race victory? We'll certainly have to see in the final 2 laps of this race, as it's a 1-2 actually for 4s, because Holmbom is in the 4s car. They might be able to take that away, but that's actually not too far big of a gap actually. The number 10, the number 79 for 2nd and 3rd place, just about a 2.5 seconds between those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. It goes up and down. Homer's trying to do his best to get closer to Holmbom, but the problem is sometimes Holmbom, it's a little bit of a loop, because Homer sometimes does a 51.6 and Holmbom does a 50 something. Then Holmbom does the other way around and Homer gets closer. But finally, the gap is under a second between the number 10 and the number 79. So we have our potential battle for the final spot on the podium in a little bit.
We certainly will, because they need to try and find the final couple of points. But remember, the action does not end here tonight for the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan. We go back to the playoffs in the Oval Series next week, and then we will be the week after that back to the final race of the season here for this there it is. First of all, we'll show the Oval Series. There's Michigan for the round of 10, the first race of the round of 10, the 11th of April, 8 p.m. same time as always, 8 p.m. European time, here on RaceSpotTV with our coverage. But then, as I said, in a couple of weeks' time, we go to the final race here in the Formula Series, and is Oran Park for the mega final by Svenska e-Racing on the 2nd of May. And it's going to be a fun one to see how those drivers can manage themselves to the end of the season. Actually, I don't think our graphics are wrong. I think it's the 18th of April, according to one calendar. So it's in 2 weeks' time that it's going to be. And we, of course, see that. By the way, it is final lap time, Lorenzo. And would you be feeling the nerves if you're in Lindholm's position, or can you just roll around and coast to the finish?
If he wants to, he can call Benny and Benny the pace car and have him around. He's probably going to finish the race ahead of everybody else if he wants to.
He could do like the victory donuts, but before the racing line, before the finish line, just for a bit of showing off. Because to be fair, he's done a great job. I mean, look at these gaps. 1 minute down to basically P8, Neptune there. Such huge margins, and you've got to really applaud him for the race that he's done. He's kept it on the on the grey stuff for the most part. He did have one little spin, but he was able to hold on to that and was able to get it back on track with a huge gap Of course, we've lost some big names in this race. Jesper Eriksson, he's had a tough evening. Michael Hafnedsen as well. He won the first 2 races, dropped down to P20, and then was not able to really come back from that. Marcus Byfeld as well. He's 4 laps down in P17, but Ivan Lindholm is not going to worry about that because he's going to take race victory here tonight, his first one of the season. And Forza Esports win their own race. The banking in Europe, final race of the evening, goes to Ivan Lindholm of Forza Esports. He wins race number 3 in the heavily wet conditions, the carnage field race, but he kept it on the track and was able to win by over 20 seconds from Cedric Holmbaum in the number 10, who's going to come across the line in second place. And then, of course, Dan Holmer will be in third. And I think there's going to be quite a few drivers after this race who'll be looking back and possibly seeing maybe there wasn't a lot they could do. The drivers were basically spinning and crashing all over the place. It was almost comedic at some points with how many spins there were. And I do want to see if that was the record for the most spins in iRacing online race, because that was quite something, the amount of carnage that we had. And it was definitely one for the history books, as it was the first properly wet race of this great championship that has just 1 round to go for the Formula Series. And of course, we're down to the round of 10 in the Oval Series as well. Ivan Lindholm will try and get a word with him and maybe some of the other drivers in a short moment's time. So actually, they're there, so we'll bring them in while we wait for the drivers to finish. And we'll bring in Ivan Lindholm of the 263. Thank you for joining us in the commentary box. With that race, of course, the wet conditions came out. Just talk us through the first couple of laps and how you managed to get through everyone.
Yeah, sorry about my voice, but the first few laps was very difficult. It's a lot of people. Take it easy and find the gaps and make the right decisions to just survive, basically.
And even when you got into the race lead, you had about a 20-second gap. But unfortunately, you had a spin at turn 2, turn 3. Talk us about how your heart rate was going at that point.
Oh yeah, it was pretty calm. Not a fast corner, so it was not any big problem. But it was not. I didn't need to do it, but it didn't do much, so I was pretty calm.
And of course, your first victory of the season as well. You must be pretty happy with that. Do you like these wet conditions, or was there a bit of luck in that?
I like wet conditions because I usually have my best focus there, and I do real racing, so that makes it very much easier for me. So I can find it around and look for the grip and just take it easy.
Absolutely. Thanks for talking to us. I'll let you save your voice, but congratulations for your race victory tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
And after Ivan has joined us in the commentary box, we'll take a look at the results and just check through with everyone before we get to a couple of other drivers in the interviews. So Lindholm there, confirmation he won by almost 30 seconds in the end from Holmbaum and Holmer inside your podium. Jonker getting P4 ahead of that big fight with Fredriksson, Frisk and Lodin as well, but unfortunately they dropped down. And over a minute back to 7th place, just showing you how difficult it was out there for the drivers. Geros and Neptun and Brostrom round out your top 10 with Marcus Byfeld getting the fastest lap on P12, but we don't see his name for quite a while. It was Eriksson and Helmberg, the final drivers on the lead lap. Then we had Helmbro, Norgren, you're from pole position, finished down in P14, then shot the final driver 1 lap down. Then Skelson, Byfeld down in P17, Wallingston, Brostrom, Lundberg round out your top 20. And then the final drivers, many laps down, and quite a few of these being DNFs as well. We've got Horner, Vedestad, Auksson, Eriksson and Hafnedsen who crashed into each other, P24, P25, Pedersen, Motin, Kamara and Uranom from P29. Very difficult race for those drivers. Let's grab another word from one of the drivers. Let's grab Cedric Holmbaum then, the number 10 machine, one of the youngest drivers in the community in the championship. And you join us after being P number 2. Congratulations for that. You must feel very happy to get on the podium.
Yeah, I'm very happy with being on the podium.
And how did you enjoy these wet conditions?
Yeah, it was quite difficult. Like, you get snap oversteer almost every corner. But it was very fun.
And at the end, you had Daniel Holmer chasing you down. Did you feel the pressure, or were you keeping quite calm?
I was trying to stay calm, but I was feeling the pressure a little bit.
Well, you certainly did a good job. So congratulations on your P number 2 and surviving the wet conditions.
Thanks.
Now we'll bring in the master of the more dry conditions in the first couple of races, Michael Hefferson, the number 81 machine for AM Racing. You had 2 huge battles with Marcus Beifeld, but you're able to put your car in the perfect places. Just tell us how you managed those wet and dry conditions in the first 2 races.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Marcus, I think, overall had more pace than me, but I was able to keep up with him, and in some sectors I was way faster. So I think it was just faster in the right places, and obviously being able to stick it either around the inside or outside into turn 1 gives you a lot of opportunities. I mean, it's really a 50-50. You can go wherever you want, really.
Yeah, I was going to say, this track actually seemed to be quite nice to battle in this car. It got a bit more tricky when it got wet in race 3, but for race 1 and 2, it seemed like it's quite a good combination with this car.
That was a really good combination. I really enjoyed it in the rain as well. I'm pissed about myself, to be honest. I accidentally dumped it on lap 2 in the rain. I think I could have had it even if I just had sticked it on the track, but it happens. But it was a really good combo overall. I really enjoyed it.
And looking forward to the next race at Oran Park, what can you expect? Because that's another sort of tight and twisty venue.
It depends on the weather a bit. I mean, if it's hot, I think it's going to be miserable, because when it gets too hot, it just gets a lot of understeering. I can't handle the understeering, therefore, as well as some of the other guys can. So for me, I think it's going to be weather-based. If it's cool, and then it's fine, and rain, I'll be really happy about it. But if it's dry, it's not going to be a good race for me, I think.
Yeah, certainly. Well, congratulations for your 2 race victories. That makes it 4 this season. So it might be a little bit up and down, but you've certainly got the speed in that 81 machine.
It's what you call the full Huffleson experience.
I don't get the reference.
You literally said it last race at Red Bull Ring.
Well, yeah, you have a bit of an up and down season, it seems. Yeah, hopefully you come back and get a couple of race victories at least in the final race.
Yeah, thank you.
And no worries. But that is it here for Zandvoort. But of course, there's still 1 race to go in the season, or 1 round to go, I should say. 3 races to come at Oran Park for the mega final by Svenska e-Racing rounds 19, 20 and 21 on the 18th of April in just 2 weeks' time. But as ever for the Bohlin Svenska Eracingligan, we have plenty of racing every single week, where we alternate with the Oval Series, where we go to Michigan in 1 week's time. The opening part of the round of 10, where we have still those 10 drivers going for the championship. Can one of the drivers lower down, sneak a race victory in, of course, the very fast 1.5 mile there? That's going to be a lot of fun. And then we return 1 week after that, so as I mentioned, to Oran Park, where we go to the mega final, and that is going to be a lot of fun. So the next few weeks are going to be packed of action as we get to the hot end of these championships. And then, of course, it's going to be myself, Cameron Roger, had Lorenzo Bondo alongside me. I'm sure Justin Prince will be back for the next race as well. Dane Baird, of course, doing the production of the RaceSpotTV broadcast. And we'll leave you with a bit of a spin counter as we retake and reinvest ourselves in all of the spins here at Zandvoort.